Cool.
A lot of our members joining. Love it.
Love our City Moguls members joining right now. Beautiful. I love everyone on camera. It's awesome. No problem if you're camera shy today. All right, we're going to get started. We are going to get started. Thank you guys again so much for joining us on our last Powerhouse webinar of the month. We had some incredible guests so far, and the fun continues today and the rest of the summer and all year long. So very excited to introduce these two lovely ladies. Before we get there, for those of you who are new to City Moguls, we are a platform that celebrates, educates, and connects all kinds of entrepreneurs to inspire incredible leaders. So like all of you. So thank you for being here. We are very excited. Lots of juicy content coming. For those of you who are already members, you know about our membership program. But for those of you who are new, we have just launched our incredible membership program. So you get access to all of these types of resources now for free. And along with a lot of other things like Mogul Cruise, our members only Slack resource channel, our members only portal. You will have a little welcome gift coming to you very soon. If Canada Post is still doing its job. And lots of other things coming for the rest of the year. So we're very, very grateful. I'm going to pass it off to Victoria to introduce these two incredible guests we have today.
All right. Well, we have Monica and Stacey with us. I'm just going to read your intro just to give everybody a little more context on how amazing you both are. So bear with me. So in 2017, Monica and Stacey co-founded Lunata Beauty, a beauty tech company poised to disrupt the hair care industry by proving game-changing cordless hair tools. So cool. Lunata Inc. specializes in wireless and portable styling products, including hair straighteners and curling wands. A disruptor in the hair and styling industry, Lunata's wireless products give women gorgeous hair by combining traditional beauty techniques with effortless modern tech. In November 2018, Lunata Hair announced their new partnership with Joe Mimran, founder of Joe Fresh. As a Canadian entrepreneur, fashion designer, consultant, and retailer, Mimran has been focusing on investing in brand and consumer-facing tech companies like Lunata Hair. Exciting tidbit also, we are actually having Joe Mimran for our next Powerhouse webinar on next Tuesday at noon. So crazy overlap, just noticing that now. So you can find Lunata products actually in Nordstrom, Ulta Beauty, Holt Renfrew, Selfridges UK, and it's coming soon to Bed Bath & Beyond, Urban Outfitters, Revolve, QVC, and many more. So obviously you ladies are our product gurus, and we're so excited to dive right in. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us. It's an honor.
Well, we're honored too. We're so thrilled to have you guys.
So we want to know kind of, and because there's both of you, we're super casual here, so whoever wants to talk. How did your partnership begin, and how did this all get started? Like, how did you come up with this product?
Yeah, I can take this one. So Monica and I actually had a business prior to this, and many people think that Monica and I were like two friends who started a company together, but we actually were business partners before, and then we built a great friendship as well. I was introduced to Monica by somebody I went to high school with, and Monica had already started our previous business, which was a bakery marketplace. And I just fell in love with her drive, with everything that she was doing, and I ended up joining the company with her. While we were building that company, Monica could kind of tell the story, is when we had our aha moment and pivoted and started to actually launch Lunata Beauty. Yeah, at the same time, the bakery marketplace business, it was doing really, really well until Uber Eats came to Canada, and they had their free deliveries, and they had millions of dollars to spend on marketing. Whereas for us, it was like a $15 delivery charge to get, your cake, your birthday cake delivered or whatever else. But yeah, I think Monica could speak a little bit to how we kind of came up with Lunata Beauty and changed our business.
Yeah. So on one of our trips, so Stacey and I used to travel a lot for work. And when we were building the online bakery marketplace, it was called shopbake.com. We traveled to Ireland for Web Summit. So if any of you are familiar, it's one of the largest, I think the largest tech summit in the world. And we were there to meet investors and show off our company and whatnot. And we decided to save space and be smart and only bring carry-on. So we only brought one really expensive GHD flat iron. And we brought the converters, we brought the adapters, but when we plugged it in, it short-circuited and almost blew up our Airbnb. So we were like, why? First of all, why does cordless not exist? And even if it does, it's like butane powered. You can't travel with it. It doesn't get very hot. Why isn't this tool dual voltage? And, the second, like, why does cordless not exist for hair tools? Cordless exists for everything, these days, but it just wasn't there. So that was sort of our aha moment that kind of put the idea into our minds. And after we stopped Shop Bake, unfortunately, after we closed that down, we went back to, our corporate lives and kept running into the same issues. So one day we were just like, screw it. If no one else is going to do it, we're going to take it on ourselves.
It's so interesting because you guys, you both had a completely different company, right? Like it was so different. So you obviously found a gap in the market and really just wanted to fill it as something that you guys wanted. So, I mean, how did you get from that idea phase and really move that into a business? Because I think a lot of people, especially entrepreneurs, especially people on this call, have so many ideas constantly and want to fill something. But how do you actually turn that into a business? What are those specific steps that you took? And what kind of obstacles at the beginning, at least, did you find along the way?
So truly, Monica and I first thought that this was going to be a side business. We've been entrepreneurs from a very early stage, early age, sorry. And because of our experience with Shop Bake, we kind of felt like going into another business so soon, should we do it? So let's just try this out. And we really were cautious about some of the steps that we were taking. We first ordered a really small batch of product that we then tested the market with to see, is this even something people would be interested in? We put together sort of like everything that you would put together for a side business and not necessarily a major business. That was the initial step. But when we saw just how like the response that we were getting, that's when we realized, okay, you know what, this is something that we do need to take seriously and build a business around this and do it right. So some of the like kind of major obstacles in going from that to where we are and having the business that we have now stem from just us kind of figuring out, okay, what do we need to do in order to take this from a side project or side hustle to a legitimate company that retailers will take seriously, investors will take seriously, and not just see this as something that we're doing out of our basement. So we took those steps to really, really to make sure that it was legitimized in many different ways.
And what were those steps? Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Monica.
We should probably specify in terms of, because Stacey and I are not engineers. So, when you think about consumer electronics, it's like, okay, so you guys must be engineers and we are not. But we also didn't have a budget. Like, I can't even say we didn't have a big budget. We had no budget. So we had to be extremely resourceful. And one of the platforms that really helped us out was Upwork. Where you can find, if you guys aren't familiar with it, it's basically a platform for freelancers, and you can find any kind of freelancer that you can even imagine, and bid, well, not bid, but you can sort of give a price that you're willing to pay, and then the freelancers will make their offers. So you can go from somebody like super entry level to someone really senior. So we built a huge chunk of our business off of Upwork. We found engineers there, which, by the way, not the best idea, which we learned later, but you know, some of the freelancers we hired were incredible. Like our industrial designers are still people that we work with today. And then finding, for us, in our case, we had to find a really great factory. So we ordered like every sample under the sun from overseas. Most of it was crap. But then there was one that had so much potential. And, you know, that was the factory that we decided to work with. But we went to them and said, like, can you make these changes? Can you obviously brand it under our name? And can you work with us to have a smaller order up front, so we can test the market before we actually order more? And we still work with them today. And then, you know, on the engineering side, because our goal was really to build our own products moving forward, we just got referrals. So we spoke to so many people because we didn't know where to start. We got referrals to this amazing company that has roots in Toronto, but they actually set up base in Hong Kong. So they do everything from like the engineering to the rapid prototyping, and then eventually to production. So it was definitely, you know, many steps, but lots of research. That's
yeah, research and finding the right people, right? Like it sounds like you really went through some you know, to get to the right people. It takes some time, takes some effort to build those relationships, right? So
yeah.
Let's jump into navigating how you broke through into your first retailer, because that's a huge milestone. First of all, congrats. And the fact that you're in multiple, and by multiple, I mean tons of retailers now, is huge. So, you know, what does that look like? How did that work? You know, what are the biggest challenges with going into retail? Obviously, we're looking at things now through a lens of COVID, but, you know, would love to hear a bit more of your story and how just you really just broke through.
Yeah, so when we did that small test of 105 units, we were really just selling through our website and through Amazon. And we thought, like, why don't we try to get into retail? Just, you know, let's see what happens. And one hack that I will give you guys is going on LinkedIn and finding the assistant buyers. So the senior buyers are inundated with requests and, you know, can I send you a sample? Can I send you a sample? So you're less likely to get a response from a cold outreach to, you know, a senior buyer. So we would go after the assistant buyers on LinkedIn, just reach out, tell them, you know, what we're offering. And Nordstrom, the junior buyer from Nordstrom, got back to us and said, send us some samples. And we were so excited. So we sent them a sample, and then we didn't hear back for 4 months. So we're like, okay, like we heard back, but they said, you know, it's a travel product, but it's not a travel size. So I don't know. And we tried to explain that, look, like travel sizes have been done, and unfortunately they don't work because, you know, the battery required to power something to heat your hair is too large to be like a tiny little thing, and the plates will be too small. So anyway, so 4 months later, they reached back out to us and they said, we've all been testing it. All the ladies around the office have been testing it. We absolutely love it. Let's put it online. So that was sort of that breaking point for us where we're like, okay, we need to become a company. So we always joke that we became a company in a week. We had to get insurance. We had to, like, we were fulfilling orders from my dining room. So we had to partner with a 3PL, you know, like for address, we're like putting my home address down and stuff like that. So yeah, it had to become a company very quickly. And then from there, as soon as we launched at Nordstrom, all the other retailers started coming to us essentially.
Amazing. I mean, so much insight into what it takes, because, you know, we do have a lot of e-commerce businesses on our like in our membership on this webinar right now and in our membership database. So such great advice. Layla has a question before we dive into more things. She wanted to know, were there any other cordless hairstylers on the market at that time when you guys were launching?
Stacey, you want to take this one?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, there were cordless, and there still are cordless tools. As Monica mentioned earlier, many of them are butane powered or they're battery powered, but they're kind of designed as an afterthought. It's just something to kind of touch up your bangs, or, you know, just it's like a gadget, right? So when we also ordered those tools to test those out to just kind of see, you know, what were the flaws there. But this is kind of maybe why we did have such great success early on with retailers, is because they knew that the quality that was currently out there was really not catering to what the consumer wanted and expected. But yeah, there's, you know, the Conairs that are sold in Shoppers and Walmart since my mom was probably in university. That's pretty much what was out there.
Yeah, so you were bringing something new to the table that had an edge and wasn't like everything else that was currently on the market. Makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. And also, you know, things were moving to that direction and still are. People, you know, want to have tools that aren't making them be committed to staying in their bathroom and spending lots of hours. They're on the go, they're busy, they're traveling. So our tools really, you know, we innovate them with the times, and we're not stuck in, you know, the 80s.
Yeah. I think we want to talk to as well, just moving into our next question. And guys, if you have any other questions, please put them in the chat. We wanted to kind of know, you know, one of the biggest deterrents from starting a product company is the money that it takes to get it off the ground. So of course you guys were being scrappy and using Upwork and all that, but when it got to a point where you needed an investment, how did you go about getting that investment? Like, what are your tips for getting investors excited and onboarded onto what you're doing? And how did it happen for you guys?
So Monica, do you want to speak to that part, or you want me to tell the story?
You can tell the story.
You guys sound like us. We're like, Vic,
Okay.
do you want to take this? Danny, do you want to take this one?
Sorry. So yeah, the story is actually a bit unique. So as we mentioned, Monica and I had a previous business, and in that previous business, we auditioned for Dragon's Den, and we knew a lot about Dragon's Den, and are big fans of the show. So when we first got into Nordstrom and Holt Renfrew, I was actually at a cafe downtown, and I saw Joe Mimran in the cafe. And I text Monica, I text my husband, and I was like, he's in this cafe, like, should I go up to him and pitch this company? Like, we literally had just gotten into Holt Renfrew. And they, you know, they were big cheerleaders. They're like, you got to do it. This is like a once in a lifetime situation. So I actually just went up to him. He was sitting there with somebody who now is another investor in our company. And they were just having coffee. And I just said, you know, if I don't want to interrupt, I'm a big fan of everything that you've done. And I right away dropped the fact that, you know, we just got into Nordstrom and Holt Renfrew, where we don't have any revenues yet, really. And there was a man sitting next to Joe, not a part of the conversation. And after I had pitched our idea, he turned around and he said to Joe, if you don't invest, I'm going to invest. My wife and her cords, it's like the biggest headache for me. Like, this is going to be revolutionary. So it almost kind of seemed as if we placed this like random individual at the cafe. And then Joe was kind of talking to him about it. And then Joe said to me, you know what, if you come and pitch for this VC fund that he's a part of, and they want to invest, then he'll invest. So, you know, he still was very much like, not like, you got a deal. He put us through a lot of due diligence. We had to pitch to multiple partners at the VC fund, and had to go through a lot when it came to the investment. But again, as noted, we were really, like, our revenues were nothing at the time. So it was just very, it was just a moment of luck, right place at the right time.
And not just luck. I mean, people invest in people, right? Like your idea was incredible and your product is incredible. But the fact of the matter is, at the end of the day, you're investing in the person and the founder, right? So you guys obviously have that zing, that something, that spark that that he saw in you guys. So I wouldn't take that so much just as luck. But
Yeah.
we definitely want to keep chatting a little bit about money. Is a hard thing to talk about for a lot of people. I think there's a lot of taboo around talking about money. And actually, Stacey, we had a great conversation. You were super open about it, which I really appreciated. And I want to dive into that even a little bit more, because I think people are struggling with, how much money are you supposed to set aside for that initial investment, and how do you actually calculate that and do those projections? What does it take to go back to your investor and say, we need another round of money? When do you know that? You said you did a lot of samples at the beginning from different factories, all of them were probably priced very differently. So how do you kind of do these projections? Like, let's get into that a little bit more.
Monica, do you want to take that? I could do it as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's an ideal situation, right? The situation of where you put together your projections and you map out where, what your cogs are on the product, where you see the product is going to be positioned, what you're going to be selling it at, what your direct to consumer sales are going to look like, and then you could start plugging in kind of what that's going to look like from an investment standpoint, whether that's, how much you have to spend on the operations, your HR, your marketing, all of these different things. And when you go and you raise, when you're an early stage company, all of these projections they're based on not much. They are based on your research and you understanding how much your product's going to cost, what you want to sell it for, and all of these things. But most investors will look at the projections, understanding that you haven't really had, years in your pocket of experience of selling this product, and that they're really investing in you, as you said, in the founders, in the idea, in the drive that we have. For us, in our situation, our first investor was very much, we understood the value that Joe brought to the table, not just financially, but through his experience, through his connections, through him, from us being able to learn from him. So in an ideal situation, you would raise enough money that would give you a long runway, ideally 12 to 18 months. You would also not be necessarily giving up a very large chunk of your company, somewhere between 20 to 25%. But when it comes down to you actually being in that scenario, in that moment, you do need to also evaluate other things, not just the capital that you're going to be getting. And whether you want a silent investor or you want somebody who's very much hands-on with your business. But yeah, we built out a model, we mapped out what we projected, and then the negotiations start.
Yeah, negotiating, so much fun. Not for some people it is. For some people it is. It's really fun. Let's go into a little bit more of you have this. You had this incredible start. You had this amazing moment with Joe. You got your initial investment. I think you guys did another round later on. Now you're into a place where you're pretty much expert marketers, in our opinion. And I'll ask Monica this question, but what is that? What is the marketing techniques? What are the marketing techniques that you guys have used? And what really works with product-based marketing?
Yeah, so look, you have like 2 seconds, if that, to get the attention of somebody, especially when they're scrolling through their feed. So we've had to do so much testing to see what really works and what doesn't. You know, we have this one video that we were so proud of. It was like these, I don't know if you guys have been to our website and you've seen it, but it's these two dancers and they're dancing through the streets of LA to this like amazing catchy song with our irons, and they're doing their hair on the street. And we thought it was absolutely brilliant. But unfortunately, when it comes to an ad, it didn't convey exactly what the product was, what the benefits were. Yes, it shows dancers doing their hair, but people are like, okay, this is cute, but like, what does this really mean? So I think it's so important to really like highlight what your benefits are right off the bat. So for us, we have a cordless product. So having, you know, somebody styling their hair in a bathroom is not going to get anyone's attention because it's like, okay, it's another curling iron or flat iron or whatnot. So we like to show it in the car, you know, in like outlandish places like, you know, camping where, you know, you're doing your hair. That's not a place you would typically have access to an outlet, right? On the train, in the back of an Uber, like things like that. That's what we try to focus on. Obviously, we have to use the word cordless, you know, in big letters. Like we want to make sure that that's highlighted right away in text. And yeah, I mean, also social proof is a big thing. So having influencers actually using the product, having reviews featured, media mentions is a huge thing. As soon as they see like, you know, a name that they trust, and a quote from that publication, let's say like we've been in Forbes and Allure magazine and other publications. So we find that using quotes like that really, really works. But at the end of the day, like you need to test, and then test some more, because what you think is going to convert does not mean that it is going to convert. You have to always test. And this is obviously for like Facebook and Instagram marketing. You need to always test with different demographics, different ages, you know, different interest groups. You just have to keep on testing to see where you'll get your best, you know, ROI and your best cost per acquisition.
And then on the influencer side, I wanted to add this point. So early on, we really were working a lot with just, you know, finding influencers and sending them product and just saying, you know, do a post, do a story outlining what the deliverables were. But now we are actually building relationships with the influencers, where we're seeing that some of the biggest influencers, like Glamzilla is one, Millaboo is another one, who have millions of people looking at their content. Monica and I actually are building relationships with them where they become brand ambassadors, where they really love our products, and we're seeing that they're posting whenever, you know, whenever they want. They're not just posting about us for one post. So I think that also worked really, really well for us, just finding those advocates that really like our products and really love the whole concept and push that through their channels.
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up. We had Swish from True Fan, who runs a social media intelligence platform, and he says you really have to find the fans of your product or service or whatever, and they organically spread it through their networks and communities. So very interesting. I want to come back to when you launched in terms of marketing, because a lot of people on this call, you know, have shifted their businesses drastically over the last few months or are in the midst of launching new products and services and that kind of thing. If you had gone back to that time when you guys were launching, what are some things you would have done differently in terms of amplifying your product, in terms of marketing it?
Stacey, you want to take this one?
That's a good question. Look, early on, you have a very small budget, if even a budget. So you are a lot more selective in the content that you're pushing out, the channels that you're using. And we did a lot, and I mean a lot, of just things where we ask people to post for product, right? Or like ways that we can kind of get more for our bang for the buck kind of thing. And a lot of different hacks. The things that I think I wish that we had done is, well, first of all, I wish we had a bigger budget, but second of all, I think that using what Monica said, the social proof, like really using and pushing the fact that we got into Nordstrom, the fact that we got into Holt Renfrew, all of the publications that we were in. I think in the beginning, we were very, like we didn't want to come off as showing off or come off as being arrogant in promoting just how well the business was doing early on. So we would promote the business in a very safe way. But I think that if we started off right away doing a lot more of the social proof and showing where we're at and what people are saying, that we probably would have gone more viral earlier on.
I should also mention that a big reason why we decided to go retail first was to really sort of legitimize the brand. Because if we just started marketing our brand, you know, there's so many kind of gimmicky Instagram brands out there. And so, you know, whenever we talk to investors or anyone really who asks, like, why did you go retail first? We really say, like, look, we have a consumer electronic. So that really takes a lot of trust. You know, people are typically purchasing from brands that they know, you know, like the Dysons and the Philips of the world. So to be able to compete in that space, we decided to go retail first. So being at, you know, now we're at Best Buy, we're at Costco, we're at like Ulta Beauty, Target, Macy's. So all these sort of big box retailers, that gives us that sort of, you know, justification almost, like we are a legit brand, and that gives people, when we actually market on the D2C channels, sort of that confidence to purchase from us directly. So that's also a strategy when it comes to marketing indirectly.
Yeah, now with COVID, I mean, how have you guys kind of really shifted? I mean, retail is, I mean, has been for the last few months kind of non-existent. You know, what does that mean for your business, and how did you guys shift fast to really, you know, bring everything online and focus on the online market?
So for the first month, sales like almost stopped, you know, online, because I guess just the habits and the psychology of people's behaviors, they were really focused, as were we, right? We were focused on the essentials. So when we were buying online, it was things that we really needed. And then we found that trends have been changing month over month. And again, like we have a brand that focuses on travel and being on the go, and nobody's traveling and nobody's on the go at this point. So we really had to shift our focus very quickly. And we sourced a haircutting kit, so an at-home haircutting kit. We sourced it quickly, we launched it quickly. It's a beautiful kit. And we got on the shopping channel quickly with this product that we went on air with last month, and it sold out. So things like that, where you're constantly having to sort of adapt to the times. We also just launched masks. So 100% mulberry silk masks. So things like that, that will bring somebody in because they're looking for a mask or a hair cutting kit, but then they'll discover our other products. And we have seen a pickup now. You know, people are on Zoom calls and things like that where they still want to take care of their hair, but it's definitely tricky, and you definitely need to be adaptable.
Well, I definitely need some stuff going on here, because this is like not working for me anymore. And I really love that. I did not know you guys were doing an at-home hair cutting kit, which sounds really cool. I'm definitely going to look into that. Florence, I don't know if you wanted to ask Monica just alluded to the fact that they were on the shopping channel, but if you wanted to ask your question directly.
Sure. Hi, ladies. Thanks for the chat so far. So yeah, my question was, have you been on platforms like the Shopping Channel or QVC in the States?
Yeah. We've been on QVC in the States, the Shopping Channel in Canada, and also we're just in talks with QVC UK and moving into the UK market and into Europe. So QVC has been really great. Monica actually had to take a course to be somebody, like to be a salesperson on the Shopping Channel. She could talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, you have to do a training course for each at-home shopping kind of thing has their own training. But for the Shopping Channel, I did the training. We had a professional that we worked with that still does our QVC ones, but we decided to try it, like kind of selling it ourselves. And so far we've done the shopping channel ourselves and it worked out well. So.
Wow, you can add that to the resume. That's impressive. And so my second part, sorry, ladies, the second part, and gentlemen, the second part was, which market was the hardest for you to break into?
Funny enough, Canada.
And why?
Not that it was harder to break into, but it's just, no, that's not true. I think the UK was really the hardest to break into. It's just funny because we went US first, which is strange because we're a Canadian-based company, but that's just the way that it worked out with Nordstrom and then Ulta Beauty, and then, you know, all these other brands that were in the US. So we did get into Holt Renfrew early on, but that was really our only Canadian retailer at the beginning. Now we just launched at Indigo today. And Hudson's Bay, yeah, Hudson's Bay, and a few other ones. I think, yeah, it's actually, UK is definitely the hardest because we did try the UK. We were in Selfridges, but because we aren't set up for, you know, we don't have a 3PL yet there, it was very difficult to, you know, get our deliveries there within a 30-minute window and things like that. So that's our next step. We're in talks with Boots and some other retailers in the UK. So yeah, I think more of the, you know, the UK, the European market, and then beyond will be the most challenging.
Thank you, ladies.
Yeah, and Florence, I'm just going to go off of your question because it's a great one. But, you know, with that said, how do you even break into a new market? Like, let's go back even further. What is it like to break into a new market?
Yeah, I could speak a little bit to it. Breaking into a new market, you know, we're contacted by a lot of different distributors and retailers from all around the world. And for us, the Selfridges partnership, it made sense at the time. They weren't taking on a crazy amount of product. They didn't need us to commit to having, you know, a 3PL or having anything really specific. But then once we saw that there's a lot of opportunity in the UK, we started exploring that opportunity. We also did bring on an investor in our second round. That is, they're two investors based in the UK, and so we've started kind of talking to them about how do we move there? What do we have to do? There's different taxation. There's a lot of things involved. But I think that you have to be very strategic and look at what is that next market, or do you concentrate in one market and become super successful there? Yeah.
We have some great questions coming in, so I'm going to throw it to Angeline first. Angeline, you want to ask your question?
Hi, nice to meet everyone here today, including the co-founders. Just really great concept. I think it's amazing. I actually used to have a cordless curling iron and it just didn't work very well. So I will have to check out your cordless curling iron. It's definitely something I would use. So my question is, how did sales do on the shopping channel versus in retail partnerships? And are you still selling through the shopping channel, or is it a channel that maybe you've moved on from? Like, I'm curious with those types of questions.
Yeah, I could speak to that. I mean, with home shopping, it's such a different model where they have per minute expectations of, like $5,000 a minute that they want you to sell, or 10,000, whatever it is. So it's hard to compare because it's so short. Like, it's like either 15 minutes, a 15-minute segment, or a 30-minute segment, but you only really have that time to capture those sales. And then they do throw it online. So there are sales that continue at a slower pace. So it's difficult to kind of compare the two.
Okay. I would say. Did you find the shopping channel to be successful?
Yes. And that's another thing. It all depends on timing. So when we went on in December, obviously a holiday was, a huge time for buyers and for gifts and whatnot. So that did really well. We surpassed expectations. Now we're doing Skype for the shopping channel. And so it's a lot more difficult to demo products and things like that. Like on the shopping channel, I had to demo doing my hair while kind of selling it. I didn't have models with me. It was basically this setup. So it's a lot different now. And we've had calls with the QVC buyers as well as TSC, and they said now like hair in general is really struggling with these Skype segments because of that. However, with like our hair cutting kit, it's sold out within that. It was a 30-minute segment, but I sold 4 products. So the hair cutting kit, I think, had 7 minutes or something like that. So we sold out completely. They ordered 6 times the original amount after that. So again, like it just totally depends on timing, seasonality, and of course, not being in a pandemic would help as well.
Right.
But we also do see that there's a correlation between the shopping networks and our retail partners. With the shopping network, there's obviously discounts and perks to shopping online, but there's also people who just want their product quickly and they might not care that they're getting a free product or a discount. So when we first went on QVC, we actually saw a big lift in our Amazon sales. And we expect that there probably are also some uplifts in our retail partnerships, because people then see, okay, where else can I get this product? Can I go and walk into my Best Buy and get the same product and check it out in person? So for brand awareness, it also is a really huge channel for us.
Okay, great. Thank you for answering my questions.
Yeah, it seems like it might not be something you can measure right away, but the awareness factor and the eyeballs that you're getting it on those platforms ends up being so worth it in the long run.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw it to Nat if you want. I'm like pointing because she's over here. I'm going to throw it to Nat to ask her question.
Hi. Well, you kind of already answered my question, because I was wondering for the new products, the hair cutting kit and the mask, if you used any specific launch sequence, or did you just tap into your current customers? And like you said, you went on QVC and the shopping channel, so that probably helped a lot. But for anyone who had to necessarily like pivot and launch a new product in the middle of this pandemic, do you have any advice into any launch strategies or sales strategy or advertising that, based on your experience, you would recommend?
I think honestly, when it comes to like launching during a pandemic, I think it's speed over anything else, because even like we're finding you need to jump on these opportunities because they're literally changing day after, like day to day. So where, we sold out of these hair cutting kits last month, I don't know that, the sales would be as good if we did another segment, just because, salons are reopening now, and, people are getting more comfortable with leaving the house and getting these services done and stuff like that. But at the same time, people are now like, okay, I can do this at home. Like my husband learned how to give our kids haircuts, and now we will never, well, not never, but for, the foreseeable future, we will not be going to a salon to get their haircuts because he does such a good job. So things like that. But yeah, during a pandemic, I think like throw out all the rules. It's like speed over anything else, and kind of taking advantage of the opportunities as they arise. And, where our typical product, timeline is like, let's say a year to launch a consumer electronic or more, we've had to source these products like the masks and the scissors so quickly, and we couldn't wait on these longer lead times. So that's something to kind of consider as well. But overall, when it comes to product launches, we also have to be really careful because, if we're coming out with, let's say like version 2 of our flat iron, we have to time it in a way that it will not, basically screw over our retailers that have like our old product. We have to make sure that everything is timed perfectly, where, either we do like a clear out sale to get rid of the old product before we bring in the new product, or they just sell out organically before we launch something new. So that's also something to consider.
Mm-hmm. Great.
Thank you. I think what you're saying about speed is so key. Even for Danny and I, that was a big thing for City Moguls, and going from in-person events to building our community more online. And I think it's something we all have to keep top of mind over the next year and a half, because we have no idea what the next year and a half is going to look like. So we kind of have to be on the edge of our seat, ready to pivot left, right, and center. So great advice. Florence, I want you to ask this question because I want to know the answer too. So go ahead and ask.
I believe in dreaming big. So for Lunata Beauty, who would be your dream investor, or have you already got him or her? And what would you do to get that dream investor? I'd love to hear.
Oh, the timing.
The timing of this. So we're currently raising a big round. We have had a couple offers on the table. Investor interested that would literally, in our opinion, take the company to a whole new level. I don't know if we should really say who they are, but there's somebody who has, they're from the US. They've taken companies, beauty companies, specifically in the hair industry, they've had exits of up to $400 million. They also would bring with them a lot of celebrities, a lot of celebrity hairstylists, where, you know, Monica and I, as we mentioned, we're marketers. We're not hair, stylists. We're not engineers. We don't have a large network of hairstylists that we can tap into, and we have gone in the retail route and the direct-to-consumer route, but we really need to also go into the salon route and into the space of partnering with really well-known stylists. But yeah, currently from our dream investor.
Okay, we're excited to hear who it is. We're sending you positive vibes, whoever it is.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll send an update. We'll send an update. Just what is it called? We're manifesting that it's going to happen.
Yes. we're manifesting with you, whoever it is.
Thanks.
We're going to let, is it Lilag? Is that how you pronounce your name?
Hey, it's Lilag.
Lilag. We're going to ask you.
Hi everyone. So I'm also a marketer. One of my areas of interest is just branding and creating content for new and existing brands. And so I thought it was really interesting that you guys mentioned your strategy for building your brand credibility was to do it through, to build your brand credibility with consumers was to get into retail first, and so use that as a tactic. But I'm curious to know, like, how did you, because you were a brand new brand, like no one had heard of Lunata before, when you went to the assistant buyers, like how did you gain their trust and gain, how did you gain credibility with them? What was your strategy there? I'm curious.
I think I can take this one. I think the key here is fake it till you make it. We had to kind of sort of act as if we were bigger than we were. And so with that sort of level of confidence, speaking to the fact that we've partnered with the world's best engineers and industrial designers and the best factories, it was never even sort of like a question. I think going in with confidence, not saying like, hey, we're two girls like working out of our dining room. Trust us, like we have a consumer electronic that we're working on. Just having that sort of confidence. And it was never a question. Like no buyers from I'd say like in total now, probably 40 different retail buyers that we've dealt with or spoken to. It's never been an issue of like, oh, you guys aren't credible. Especially after Nordstrom. I think once you're in that one retail partner that, will take a chance on you and will, believe in you essentially, once you're at one of those recognizable names, everyone just kind of comes. They're like, okay, well, you're at Nordstrom, so, we'll bring you guys on or whatever it is. So it's almost like a domino effect.
But just one thing, I think Monica's not giving herself enough credit here, because I think fake it till you you make it, if you're really like a fake, is going to come off no matter who you're speaking to. You know, Monica put in a lot of time and effort into educating herself on the retail side, like some of the lingo that these buyers use. What is a 3PL? How do you register? Like there was educated herself on. So when she would have these discussions with the buyers, they almost felt like, well, she must have been in other retailers before. She must have done this before. This isn't her first rodeo. I think that, yeah, you can fake it till you make it, but people can really, you know, smell bullshit from a mile away. So you do need to really do your research and educate yourself before you start talking to them.
And ladies, for the people who don't know, what is a 3PL?
Third-party logistics. So it's essentially, it's a warehouse. So it's not necessarily, it's not your own warehouse with your own staff. It's like a third party that picks and packs your orders, either when it comes to direct to consumer. There's ones that's like are just for direct to consumer orders, like e-commerce and stuff like that. And then there are some that deal only with retailers, and then, you know, some that deal with both.
Great, that's super
So can I
helpful,
just
yeah.
ask really quickly
Just
a
really
follow-up
quickly,
question?
when we flew down to meet, oh, sorry, yeah, sorry.
That's okay, go
Yeah.
ahead.
No, just really short. But when Monica and I flew down for our Ulta meeting, like the Ulta beauty meeting, the whole meeting, they were using all of these like terms and acronyms that it literally was like they were speaking a different language. Like they remember that?
Yep.
And they were like CBD, DVD, and we were sitting there like, yeah, okay, yes, we got that. That's, yep, we have that. And then when we left, we had to like actually go and look up what all of these terms actually mean, because the language that the buyers were using was just so, and you don't want to come off as being like, what does that mean and what does this mean? And but it was a very interesting meeting, that one. We didn't understand half what they were asking.
Yeah, that's a great point. And it really is just learning on the job. That's what it sounds like. You really just learned on the job. I mean, your story is so amazing, and you've become such a successful brand and company. I mean, for those of us kind of in the nitty and gritty, was rejection like for you guys? There had to be, you know, some no's along the way. Can you share some stories if it's not too vulnerable for you to share? I'm gonna pass it to Monica. Stacey, your connection's just cutting in and out. I don't know.
Okay.
It's just me still, but
Nope.
oh no. Oh, she just lost her video. But yeah, Monica, go ahead.
Yeah, for sure. We just did a podcast on this because there's so much that we could say on the subject of rejection. We've heard no like so many times, but I think that the main thing is to let it sort of slide off your back. Never take a no as a no when it comes to business. We've had so many no's that have turned into yeses. So even with our first investor, like, you know, with Joe, we kind of like, it was a yes. And then it was, you know, after due diligence, it was like, well, I don't know if you guys will actually reach your projections. And we convinced him, yes, we absolutely will. And here's why, which turned into a yes. Same thing with Nordstrom. You know, at first they were like, well, it was, you know, not really a travel kind of product, which turned into a yes. So I think it's so important to stay positive for sure. Don't let the no's get to you. Don't let the rejection get to you. I mean, at the same time, you need to know when to let go. So sometimes it's just not right. So keep that in mind as well. But if there's something that, you know, you really want, whether it's an investor or a retailer or partner, whatever it is, just know that sometimes it's, you know, kind of a pathway to a yes, whether that takes more time, more convincing, more updating, whatever it is, just kind of let it roll off your back. That's sort of our best advice, I think, when it comes to rejection.
Yeah, it's a great piece of advice because we encounter it all the time. Not everyone's going to like what you're doing, and that's just the name of the game, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
Victoria, did you want to ask this one last question that we had?
Well, I mean, I was just messaging Danny. I'm like, we need to ask this because we do have a lot of people who are in partnerships. I mean, Danny and I have been in a partnership for a decade. It's like a marriage, you know, you're engaged and then you're married and now we're like an old married couple. I mean, do you guys have any tips or advice for people getting into those partnerships? Like what's so important for you guys in the day-to-day working together and building your baby?
Yeah, I think like from the very beginning, it's important to kind of lay all your cards on the table and understand like, you know, what the level of commitment is, right? So is your partner going to be working on other businesses, or is this going to be like their sole focus? So that's obviously one of the biggest things. Delegation. So Stacey and I are, like we said, we're both marketers, but it wouldn't do us any good to both be working on the marketing all the time when we're only two founders. So kind of delegating and splitting that up to where now Stacey handles the marketing and the agencies and the social media and all that kind of stuff. I focus more on like the operations, the retail product, things like that. So that's super important. Communication, like you said, like it's like an old married couple. Stacey and I talk 24 hours a day. We have like our WhatsApp chats where we're always like communicating, whether it's products or not products, but ideas that we're bouncing off of each other, stressing, you know, together, whatever it is. We're just constantly communicating, making sure that if there are any issues that arise, like we get them out of the way quickly. I think like, you know, to avoid any tension, I think tension is the worst thing you can have in a partnership. So just keeping those lines of communication open is super important. Stacey, I don't know, would you add anything?
Yeah, I think another thing is just checking in with your founder, like with your co-founder or your business partner, to like pretty often to kind of understand where, you know, what are their goals, where does their motivation lie? Because, you know, especially when you're raising and, you know, giving up equity of your company or taking your company different ways and developing the strategy of what will happen to the company in the next couple of years. Monica and I oftentimes talk about like what are our dreams, what are our goals, what's motivating us, what's not motivating us, and I think that helps a lot.
Yeah, 100%.
And setting time to unplug too, right? Because it's so easy to fall into this, like, because we speak 24/7, we don't ever really shut it off. So, you know, knowing when to say like, okay, like I'm going to take 2 hours, like I'm going to spend time with my family or whatever it is, just making sure that like you have those times to unplug and to kind of disconnect is really important as well.
Unplug and disconnect.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very
See what I did
fitting.
there?
See, I saw what you did there. I saw what you did. Oksana, I'm going to let you ask your question just as our last one. If you'd like to ask it in real time.
Just a quick question, just based on what you guys were talking about, like partnerships, like you guys both come from a marketing background. How did you decide as co-founder, like equal co-founders, who took on the CEO title and who took on the CFO title?
I don't think we really like discussed, like it wasn't like a big, like, did we even have like a big discussion about it?
No, I don't think so. I think it's just a title. Like it's just for paperwork at the end of the day. You know, we're co-founders.
Like if you look at all of the things that we do. So for example, I do a lot of the fundraising. I'm head of the financials. I deal with our bookkeepers and accountants. Monica deals with all the retail partnerships, all the product development. So really, like, our titles don't really define who we, like, what our position really is. And playing around with it, like one day I'm a COO, another day I'm the CFO, or Monica's the CTO, right? So I think we just kind of gave ourselves the titles that we kind of saw were reflective of the kind of initial stage, but every day we're changing our hats.
Wearing multiple hats all the time. Yeah, for sure. Well, ladies, this was so informative. Thank you so much. Where can people find Lunata Beauty, find you guys. They want to connect with you directly. We do have a small group, so where can we find everything about Lunata?
So on Instagram, we are at Lunata Beauty. We now just have the one account. We have 2 brands. So we have Unplugged Beauty and Lunata, but they're both now on Lunata Beauty. Same with Facebook. I think we're at Lunata Beauty. I think, right?
Yeah.
We're on LinkedIn.
Yeah, Lunata Beauty, lunatabeauty.com. And then if you want to chat with us, I think LinkedIn probably is the best, or our Instagrams. You could find us on Instagram as well.
Yeah, we're open.
Thanks, that's great. And you can also find anything about Stacey or Monica also on our City Mobiles page. Their handles are on our last post about them, so you can check them out there. Vic, are we did we cover everything that we wanted to?
I think like this has been amazing. I mean, I think you ladies are doing amazing things, and you do not give yourselves enough credit. Like, holy crap, like what you guys have been able to build just as marketers. I truly admire and respect. It's absolutely amazing. And especially for our community right now, you guys are probably one of the first people we've actually brought on that really dive into that product space. So thank you so much for your vulnerability and giving us everything that's in the brain.
Our pleasure. Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you guys. And if anyone wants to access the webinar from today, if you had to pop off or pop on for any reason, it will be up on our site / sent to you. Victoria is clearly the marketer. She will tell you how it's going to get distributed to you. But thank you guys so much for joining us. You can access again any of these Powerhouse webinars for free by becoming a City Mobiles member. You can head to citymobiles.com to learn how to become a member. Join all of our webinars for free, Mogul Cruise, a whole bunch of other amazing resources. So check that out. And big thank you again to Monica and Stacey for joining us on this lovely pre-Canada Day Tuesday. And, you know, if anyone wants to stay on and chat a little bit more, Victoria and I are going to stay on for another couple minutes if you want to learn more about membership or if you want to chat with us at all. But thank you guys so much. Have a wonderful day. Thanks, Monica. Thanks, Stacey.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good Canada Day.
Happy Canada Day, Florence.
Happy Canada